Hello friends, my name is Kishan and welcome you in this video tutorial. In this video tutorial I am going to discuss about what is database connection pool and how to configure a database connection pool in Tomcat server. Database connection pool is a method used to keep database connection open so they can be reused. Typically a database connection is an expensive process, so pooling keeps the connection active so that when a connection is later requested, one of the active ones is used in preference to opening another one. Server first checks the pool for a suitable connection. If one is available, that's given to the client. Otherwise a new connection is created. So let's go ahead and try to configure database connection pool in Tomcat server. So I have a web-based application that is called my web app, and here I have a index.jsp. When I run this application, then this page is getting displayed. So and there my application is requesting to user enter user ID and password, and after entering these two fields, when user clicks on the login button, then request go to the servlet whose URL pattern is login servlet. So here is my login servlet, and here I am just collecting the username and password and creating HTTP session object from the request object. And in session I am trying to set the username, and finally I am just validating this user from my database, whether this user exists in my database or not. So by writing the simple query, select a star from login where username equal to question mark and password equal to question mark. Just I have used dynamic query with placeholder, and just I am looking into my database and try to see what value is returning my database. If this method returns true, means this user exists in my database, and same value I am going to return. If this boolean value returns false, means this user does not exist in my database. If this returns true, then this user exists in my database. So that's all about this code, and we have a utility program which takes care about giving the connection from the database. And here I have used driver manager. Driver manager has a method is called get connection, which takes database URL, username and password, and that returns us the connection object. And before that, just I'm registering the driver. So here I am using MySQL database server, so I have specified on MySQL database driver name over here. So if you have a web-based application and you are taking database connection like this, then there is problematic. So if you have a web-based application, means you might get multiple concurrent requests at a time. And as we know that when you take connection from the driver manager, and if you have a driver manager will give you single connection at a time, then that will when you have 100 requests, then if your first request is getting processed, then connection is holding by the first request, and rest of the request has to wait in the queue. And once you close the connection, then connection will be destroyed. And once first request processing is getting done, then for second request again a new connection is getting created. So creating and destroying a connection for the container is for the your application is it's a overhead. So rather using driver manager connection, we should go for the connection pool. And there are certain steps to create a connection pool in the Tomcat. So let me show you how I have created connection pool in Tomcat. So I have second application, and here what we'll have to do, in meta.nf I have created context.xml, and earlier driver name, database URL, username, password, these things I have hard coded in my source code itself. Now these things I have specified in configuration file. Apart from that, I have specified some more attributes. First attribute, we have a name which specify the something is called JNDI name of the source, or JNDI name, Java JNDI, Java naming directory interface, and this will be authenticated by the container itself. And here I am not going to take connection from the driver manager, but by using data source. So here you will have to specify the qualified name of your class. Now max active, this represents maximum number of connection in the pool. You can set its value to -1 for no limit. Again we have a max idle, maximum number of idle connections to retain in the pool. You can set the -1 for the no limit. Again we have a max wait, and that I have set it for 10 seconds, or you can say 10,000 milliseconds. So maximum time to wait for the database connection to become available in milliseconds. In this example I have set it 10 seconds, and exception is thrown if timeout is exceeded. You can set -1 to wait indefinitely. And finally we have a, not finally but next attribute, we have a driver class name. So the fully qualified Java class name of the database driver. For MySQL connector Java, it is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Again you have a URL, this is JDBC connection URL, then username, and that is the MySQL database username, and password MySQL database user password. So that's all about these attributes. Apart from that, you can specify some more attributes. So if you go to the Google and here try to type Tomcat connection pool, then we have a first link, and here you can go and check it out. You have a many attribute you can specify over here. So these things just I am leaving as a homework for you guys. You can explore these things from Tomcat websites. They have given the more detail about the connection pool. Now how to utilize this configured JNDI in our source code, that's the question. So now if I can show you in utility program where I was taking connection from driver manager, now I have changed this source code. So here you will have to create object of context. Context is an interface, and initial context is its concrete implementation. So I have created object for context like this, and context has a lookup method. Here you will have to pass java.comp.env. this string is fixed, and after that you will have to pass the JNDI name. So in my case JNDI name is jdbc/usersdb. so that JNDI name I have passed over here, and up to here you will have to pass java.com.env, and after that you need to pass the JNDI name, and return type of this lookup method is object. So you need to typecast into data source, and once you get the object of data source, then data source has a method get connection. So earlier I was taking connection from the driver manager dot get connection. I was passing 3 parameters, database URL, username, password, but here this I am taking the connection from the data source, and this connection will be returned to the client by calling this static method. Now let me show you the servlet. So here when the user sends the request, when multiple user will send request from this page, from login page, then request will go to the my servlet, and here my servlet is collecting username and password, creating session, and session just I'm setting the username, and finally servlet is calling to the DAO layer to verify the user whether the user exists in the database or not. And here we can just I'm checking connection is equal to not null and connection is closed, is clear is true, then go and create a new connection. And here I am calling my API which will create connection using JNDI or data source, and that way we can make use of the database connection pool. And finally just interacting with the database, and whatever results is coming from the database, that is going to return to my controller or servlet, and controller will act on that. If this value is getting returned true, then if this code snippet is getting executed, else my control will go to the else part, and that will print sorry username or password is wrong. So that's it all. And finally we are just redirecting to the user on the index.j, not redirecting, but just I'm staying on the index.jsp itself and trying to print this message. If user is valid, then just moving on the welcome.jsp page, and welcome.jsp page just I'm trying to print the username with welcome message, and that username I had stated in my session scope itself, so that I'm trying to print. So let me show you this. And database I have already, let me show you my database. I have MySQL database, so in this MySQL database my password is root, and here I would say use JDBC DB, that's my database name, and I would say select the stuff from login. So currently I have one user in my database, and username is kishan.javatrainer and password is password itself. So when I run this application, if I do not enter anything and press enter, then saying that sorry username or password is wrong. So let's type the username as a kishan.javatrainer, and password I'm just typing the pass, and when I click, then I'm successfully getting login. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video tutorial. One more thing I wanted to share with you. Here I have kept my data source in the context. I have manually created context.xml in meta-inf, but same you can, if you don't want to configure, this is very specific to the application, this is only valid for this application. But if you want JNDI configuration that should independent of your application, then you have in server you have a file is called context.xml. so same you can configure here. So your context is closing here and starting here, between that you can configure a data source here itself, and that will be the value for the all application, not only for the single but all applications. So that's all I wanted to show in this video tutorial. In next video tutorial I am going to show you how to configure SSL. So please be with me, and thanks for watching this video.